All right. What did you do in the war?
Well, I went in 40, in August of 44, joining the Navy, took basic training at Bainbridge, Maryland, volunteered for the Armed Guard on merchant ships, and took gunnery school at Norfolk, Virginia, went to New York, and shipped out on New Year's Eve day of 45 on a rusty Norwegian tanker, and went to Port La Cruz, Venezuela, first trip, come back to Philadelphia, went back the second trip to Port La Cruz in Venezuela, and come back to Norfolk. And there were so many submarines out at Norfolk, we had to go down a canal and come out at Norfolk, Virginia. And we went from there to Port Arthur, Texas. Went from there through the Panama Canal to Pearl Harbor. And while I was there, I had a toothache and had to go and have my tooth pulled.
What year was that? 45.
45. And it broke my jawbone, I guess, because the last piece of tooth come out when I was getting my discharge. And we went back through the canal from Pearl Harbor to Aruba, and went from there to Philadelphia, and then on the way back from Philadelphia, a German submarine come up. We was on watch, and a German submarine come up. It was right towards the end of the war with Germany. And we seen it and loaded the guns and everything, but we knew better than to shoot at it because we didn't have a chance. They was already on top. They had to come up and charge their batteries.
Was this the day or night?
They had to, it was late in the evening. They had to run on top at night so they could charge their batteries, and then they'd go down during the day where nobody couldn't see them. And they'd come up to charge their batteries, and they seen us. And being it was a 1918 Norwegian tanker and real old, empty, they went to circle us, and we kept the back of our ship towards them, and they went around and around till it got so dark we couldn't see them. And they left. And we went to Port La Cruz, loaded, got a load of oil, and come back to Philadelphia. And just as we got off of the ship in Philadelphia, which was about 10 or 11 days after we seen the submarine, I went uptown, and Germany had just surrendered. And there was so many people on the streets that you couldn't, in an hour's time, you couldn't walk for the people. You had just went with the crowd. And you seen that picture of a sailor kissing that woman in New York, that nurse. Well, that could have been me just as well, as because every woman you seen there about all night had to kiss you. And every man you seen had a bottle of liquor, and you had to take a drink or make out like you did. And it went on that way all night. Well, then they sent me to, I got a 30-day leave, and they sent me back to Norfolk. And I went by rail, and all the way across to California, to San Diego, California. And the Indianapolis, the one that got sunk, you know, it was loading. We got a weekend pass, and they had to load that Indianapolis because they was in a hurry to get that atomic bomb over to that island so they could drop it on Japan. Well, me and my buddy had a weekend pass, and when we got back, they'd already loaded that ship, and it was gone to carry the bomb. Well, we didn't know it then, but that's the one that got sunk, and all them men stayed out there so long in the water, for nobody knew it was sunk till a plane come over and happened to see it. An oil slick and checked, and there wasn't about 800 of the men that, out of the thousands that was on that ship, that got saved because the shark was eating them and everything. Then they put me on a troop transport to Samar Islands in the Philippines. And I stayed in the jungle in a tent city for about 3 weeks during the rainy season. And they put me on a landing craft to Manila. And when we got to Manila, they put me on an AKS transport. I stayed on this several weeks, and they got orders to go back to Pearl Harbor. Well, when we got to Pearl Harbor, the ship that I was on was going to be the one that supplied, when they dropped all in that fleet over in the islands, you know, and they dropped the atomic bomb on the whole fleet over there, empty ships, to see what it would do. So they took all the men off that was on the ship that was in the reserves, and put us on other ships and put regular men on there. Well, they put me on the LST landing craft, bound for Shanghai, China. And some of the men got to shooting albatrosses, and that's bad luck, you know. Well, the engines broke down, so they pulled into Midway Island to wait for repairs. And while I was at Midway Island, somebody stole the captain's beer. And he thought it was me or my buddy because we was on watch when it got gone. And but he couldn't prove it. So he said there was a patrol craft, a little PC. Didn't have many men on it, just a little old patrol craft that's on the other ship there. And there was 2 boys on there that's as far as they'd got, and they wanted to go to Shanghai, China. So me and my buddy got to talking to them, and we asked them would they trade. And they said, yeah, they'd like to trade. So we asked the captain, and he said, yeah, well, I'll let you trade. He said, I don't want nobody on my ship that steals. Well, we knew who had the beer and where it was hid at, but we didn't do it. And so he let us trade.